Yeah, we invited him on. He
Oh,
wanted to make it though.
I love Alan. He's the straight man of Copper and Blue.
Oh. How'd you guys play off each other then? I'd have had him on.
Alan is, I let him do most of the talking, and you'd see me nod my head a whole bunch. Fortunately, you just got me, so it's all unhinged. So
There we go. That's how we like it. All right, let's get started here. Into episode 2 of Twist Catch Radio with Nick and Nick. By Mark Parkinson from the Flames SB Nation website. He writes for them, and he is also a self-proclaimed Cubs fan and Aquaman fanatic. We're also joined by Jeff Chapman from the Blue website, another SB Nation website for the Edmonton Oilers. And these two will be going over today with us about how the team is doing, we'll preview the upcoming Blues and Flames and Oilers matchups, and just catch up on the season. And later on in the show, we'll be joined by former NHLer and Blues alumni Reed Lowe. So looking forward to having him on. How's everybody doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Nick.
thank you for having me on. Very good. Thank you.
Not good to have you guys on. So start off.
I gotta mention something 1st.
Mhm.
That I just want you guys know that was not pre-recorded. We have a band here in the background. It's off camera, but they are here.
Orchestra. Yep.
Yeah. That was,
You got an
They're
orchestra
in the
whipping
back.
out St. Louis blues. That's pretty classy.
So Blues start off the season. They're off to a 3-0 start. That's pretty good for us. How are the Oilers and Flames doing?
Well, if you want, I'll take the Calgary end of it first. Not good. 0-2-1, 2 of the losses to the Oilers, which doesn't help. So if Jeff would like to gloat, feel free. Goaltending clearly the issue in the first 2 games with Calgary, but Chad Johnson played really well the other night in a 2-1 shootout loss to the Vancouver Canucks. So things maybe getting better. We'll see how things go tonight with the Sabres, but not so good to start this season. Johnny Gaudreau started off a little bit slow, and as we've discussed the last time I was here, our favorite defenseman Dennis Weidman has already been healthy scratch twice this year because he's played so poorly. So yeah, not so good so far to start for the Flames, but we're fingers crossed. We're hoping it gets better.
As far as the Oilers go, we are the club is as good as Connor McDavid wants to be. He's clearly one of the biggest causes as to why the Oilers were victorious over the Flames in the first 2 games. Defense right now is still a giant question mark. They've allowed 13 goals in 3 games. Talbot's got a lot on his mind. He's got a baby coming tomorrow, so maybe that's why the goaltending's been a little wacky. But there's a whole lot of questions up in the air. The only one that we really don't have a big question is 97 up the middle. So pretty good, but it's been 10 years, man. So
Getting back into being a good team again. I know McDavid's been fantastic for my fantasy team, so I have you guys to thank for that.
he's really happy about that. So I'm really happy that he could help you out.
Yeah, we know that's when he goes on the ice. Everyone asks him, "I gotta help Nick's fantasy team. I gotta help Nick's fantasy team." Gotta win that.
Yeah, I'm just like at least 3 points. I mean, what else are you? Come on.
Right. What else are you gonna do? So, Mark, that was one of the things we want to talk to you about was goaltending. We know your new starting goalie, Brian Elliott, is a fan favorite for many people in the Blues. Sad to see him go. He's the Flames now, but it wasn't a good showing for his first 2 games. What do you think happened?
Defense was poor in front of him to start, definitely. The first game against Edmonton, the defense was atrocious. Nicholas Grossman, who was one of the key offseason signings for the Flames, showed up in his first 2 shifts on the ice. He was directly responsible for one of Edmonton's goals with a turnover, and then happened to be on the ice at the time the other goal was scored. So he's been a scratch now for 2 games in a row. The defense just hasn't played well in front of Elliott. Elliott looked like he fought the puck those first 2 games in Edmonton. Not to take anything away from Edmonton. I mean, Elliott's going to be having nightmares of Connor McDavid coming in on breakaways for most of the season. Edmonton, their offense took it to Calgary. So like I said, he fought the puck a little bit, looked a little uncomfortable. had a great preseason, which was the hard thing to see how dominant he was. When the preseason and then the regular season started, and he was tough in his first 2 games. Johnson got the start the other night, played well. He's going to get the start again tonight because they're playing the Sabres. So obviously no goaltender controversy. I think once they get through Buffalo, then it goes back to Elliott to give him a chance to get back on his feet again.
Mm-hmm. And so, listen, Elliott's really, as Blues fans were used to watching him, he was a very solid goalie as far as positioning goes and as far as all the little technicalities and everything you need, the small things you need to do. But in watching those highlights, it looked like there were a couple soft goals. And like you said, the defense, he doesn't have the Blues defense in front of him anymore. He's got the Flames defense, which, while not being bad, certainly isn't the shutdown defense that he's having in front of him.
No, it wasn't. And Glenn Gulletson also kind of messed with the lines. He didn't have Brody and Mark Giordano paired together. He broke them up, and they have to be, if they're going up against a guy like Connor McDavid, you need Brody and Giordano out there together. Breaking them up wasn't exactly the greatest idea. So he's put them back together. And the defense played much better against the Vancouver Canucks. Although, with that said, it is the Vancouver Canucks. So, you take that with, with a grain of salt, I suppose. But yeah, Elliott looked, like I said, he was fighting the puck, let in a couple soft goals, a couple under the glove, looked like he just wasn't tracking the puck, was screened a few times, but all in all, I think definitely not what Elliott, the Flames, or fans were looking forward to for him coming in this season. So hopefully things get better and, they pick up from there.
I like Glenn Gulletson because his name kind of sounds like an antacid.
This is going to be long, isn't it? This is going to be brutal.
Yeah. You tried the best. Now try the rest.
Oh boy, Jeff, you might be interested to know that former Oiler PRV actually scored a goal.
I have a really good time watching former Oilers do good once they get to break out of the jail that is Edmonton. Sometimes, like we're going to talk, I'm sure, about now Yakupov, but PRV with Yakupov against Devin Dubnyk. I mean. It's too much. All right, it's just there's not enough airspace to fill. But good for those guys. I'm really glad. Oiler fans have an incentive for Yakupov right now because if he scores 15 goals, then that conditional 3rd pick that was traded for Tyler Yakupov becomes a 2nd-round pick. So we're really rooting for Yakupov. I really hope he pops off and scores 25 or 30. That would really make me very happy. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of Yakupov, he's been a guy that he played in Edmonton for a while. He never really known there, and a lot of people blamed it on the development process that they rushed him into it too fastly. What do you think about Yakupov's time in Edmonton?
I think his best time in Edmonton was the first shortened season, the 48 games, when he led the team in goals, all right, and he wasn't asked to do anything. He was just asked to be himself. Now, Yakupov, like a lot of other players, comes with a lot of warts in his game. And, when Dallas Eakins finally came around to take the reins, they never gelled. So they put him on the 4th line, or they scratched him for Roman Horak, or, they played him with Anton Lander and Darcy Hordichuk. It probably wasn't Hordichuk. It was probably Gazdic, to be honest with you. So, is it all development's fault? No, that's not fair. But you got a free player who was a number 1 for an ECHL player and a 3rd-round pick. So, yeah, about 90% of that side's on management. And, good for you guys.
Yeah, and that's what blew my mind about that trade as well, because despite the problems that he had in Edmonton, despite the fact that he wasn't performing fantastically, he was still a 1st overall draft pick. And the Blues really stole him. They didn't give a lot for him, and he's had 2 points so far in his 3 games.
His number 1 player last year was Mark Letestu. All right. All right.
Nobody's going to do too great with that. If you put him on a better line, and so far they've been pairing him with Berglund, who's a very good center, and PRV, who I find that interesting. They build in the lineup of former Oilers. If they stick Perron in there together, they could have all 3 former Oilers on one line.
It blew my mind that entire goal sequence was nothing but former Oilers. PRV was the 14th? No, PRV was, I think, 9th overall, and Yakupov, of course, was 1st, and then they scored on Devin Dubnyk, who was 14th in 2004. It just, I'm a little upset, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, he feels littered with former Oiler players right now, and unfortunately for you guys, they're all kind of doing pretty well, or at least decently.
good for them. I'm really happy to see him bust out.
Mhm.
That's not even a little bit snarky. They deserve it. Good for them.
Well, Nick, you have anything you want to say?
Trying to read on. Sorry.
All right, let's see. For the Blues coming up, we've got Schwartz getting ready to join back to the team. He missed the first start of the season, recovering from an injury that was sustained in training camp. So that wasn't fun to see happen, but he's real close to coming back. He's with the team on the road trip. So that'll be nice to have him back real soon. And then former longtime AHLer, Ty Ratty. So I don't know if you guys know anything about Ty Ratty.
He's got a fun name.
Yeah.
That's about it. Same.
About it, yeah. So he's just basically been playing around the AHL for a long time now. Every year there's probably every team's probably got a player like this, but every year it's, hey, this is the year Ratty comes up. This is the year he makes it big. This year he's going to be a different speaker. And so due to the injuries, they brought him up and they put him on the top line with Fabry and Stasny. So it's kind of a make or break situation for him now. So with the goalie controversy going on in Calgary, do you think this could be a 1A, 1B situation? Or do you think this is it's just gonna be solidly Elliott's net?
I'm gonna answer that question. I think you're a little early. I think it's a little early to be saying 1A, 1B. But hey, I gotta throw out this real quick. Obviously, you know that I'm not sure if you remember, but we love the Moose, right? Elliott was our favorite player, at least for me, he was. And so I liked your analysis of it looked like on the first. You guys have played 3 games and he played the first 2. Elliott did he start?
Correct. Yes, he played both games against Edmonton. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked also like he was just fighting the puck just a little bit. But I'm guessing that the pressure he was seeing from Edmonton. I didn't see the whole game or anything. I just saw some highlights. But he's not getting the same speed he normally gets from the Blues, right? I'm guessing.
That's Reed Lowe calling him.
Reed.
Hey, Reed, can you hear us?
I can, yeah.
All right, great, guys. We'd like to welcome on Reed Lowe right now, former NHLer and current Blues alumni. How you doing, Reed?
Doing awesome.
Hey, Reed, it's Nick, Senior. I'm not sure if you remember me. We've met a few times before. But thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, not a problem. It's good to be there.
Yeah, thanks. Last time I saw you, you were taking some big blasts on me from the top of the circle. Fantasy camp.
I don't know if anything I do anymore is big blasting, if anything.
I thought it was so cool, man, because you were skating with the ice after the game, and you said something like, hey, you wanted me to shoot, right? I'm like, oh, definitely, because I think you said something like, yeah, it wouldn't be that much fun for me being out there. You never took any shots. So,
yeah, I kind of, when we do that fantasy camp, I don't like to play in the A division as much just because I don't skate as much as those other guys do, a couple times a week when the alumni all get together. And, for me, it's a little slower pace and I get to, kind of pass it a little bit here and there and set up some of the players that maybe aren't as skilled and don't get on the ice as much. And so I have a little bit more fun doing that. But if I see a good goalie in there, I like to come down there and test them out a little bit.
Yeah, well, it was a lot of fun. I appreciated the test, and I think you were 1 for 3. I was keeping track. You beat me in between. Either way, you beat me good. You know what? You said you don't got a lot of time, so I just wanted to start throwing some things at you. Real quick, I wanted to hear personally about your start with hockey. I wanted to ask you real quick, you're getting on the ice.
First memory getting on the ice, we had there was a group back in my hometown, East Coast, Saskatchewan, called the Commodores, and my dad, it's funny, doesn't skate at all, and he got me out there, and just like I do with my kids today, started pushing a chair around and finding your edges and your balance and that center of gravity that you have to find when you become a hockey player and when you become a skater. Once you learn how to kind of get yourself around on a chair, then they stick a stick in your hands, and from there you just take off. And obviously, like anybody that is privileged and lucky enough to make it to the National Hockey League. I loved it from day one, and it's all I ever wanted to do from the time I was, playing organized hockey at 6 years old, all the way until the day I retired. It was everything. And, fortunate enough to have reached the pinnacle level of hockey. And now I just try and make sure I can do everything I can to give back.
So you find your balance, you're 17 years old, and you're getting ready to go on to is it the Minot American? Is that it? Minot?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so you're 17 years old, it's 1993. What are your earliest memories in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League?
I'll tell you the story of how I made the team. I got listed in a spring camp, and they've got a 50-player protected list that they could list after the age of 14 or 15. So I've been playing midget AA, and I went to this camp and I got listed. Go to main camp in the fall and go down to Minot. And I remember my buddy Chris Burke was with me, and my mom and dad and my sister had come down to training camp, and we'd gone through training camp, and both of us had made the inter-squad game. And so I get out there in the inter-squad game, and I end up scoring 4 goals and got an assist in the inter-squad game. And one of the up-and-coming tough guys slashed me, punched me in the face, asked me to fight. So I had fought a little bit, but for the most part, I led my team on the scoring. And, I was, if we didn't do a lot of fighting, we had full cages on. It was considered minor hockey. So if you fought, you got kicked out and suspended and that kind of thing. So we didn't do a whole lot of it. Well, this junior hockey was a different story. Guy punched me, I dropped my gloves, took my helmet off, and just, pistol pumped him and beat the crap out of him, bleeding from every hole in his face pretty much. And so I just picked my stuff up and kept going, got another goal. Then the heavyweight from the team the year before, Cal Mason, he come along and he grabbed me, and, we had a pretty good tussle. I wouldn't, say that either one of us won that one. It was just a good fight between us. And so anyways, Cal was one of our better defensemen, and I think they were looking to have either me or this other guy kind of come in that year and do that role. So I got to the coach's office after the game, and we're sitting there. I remember Jim Rock. He said, "You think you could do that again?" And I said, "What, score 4 goals in the game?" He said, No, beat the crap out of guys like that. I said, if it means I'm going to make the team, then yeah, you point them out, I'll take them out. And literally for the first 15 games I played that year, which I was in and out of the lineup as a 17-year-old, you're basically, that's underage at that level. Most kids are 18, 19, 20 in that league. He would basically, and you got kicked out for fighting. So if I got in a fight in the Saskatchewan Junior League, I got booted from the game, but I got to play the next game if my coach had me in a lineup. And he would tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, number 2, go get him." So my neck chipped out there. I'd walk down, I'd give him a little whack on the back of the legs, ask him to fight, and away we went. And there was an inner drive within me because I was going out there and fighting for a reason, right? Like my coach wanted me to go get this guy. So I was always tougher in a scenario like that than just kind of 2 guys standing off the face-off, dropping the gloves, and having to fight for no reason. If one of my teammates was getting hurt, or my coach wanted me to go get somebody, those were my moments when I was the toughest in my career.
Huh. So you started out as a scorer, you end up as I guess you saw your ticket as a fighter coming into the NHL then, huh?
I was always, my label was big, tough kid that had good hands for a big, slow guy. My skating was never good. I improved it dramatically between my second and third year in the in pro hockey when I almost made the Blues my 3rd season. And I scored 16 goals in my second year in the Western Hockey League, and I had 12 goals in the minor leagues one year, and so I wasn't a guy that couldn't put the puck in the net at all. But I definitely wasn't there. My whole job wasn't there to score goals. But I was a big guy that could play on a power play and give you some quality minutes if you needed it, and if somebody needed to get tuned up, then I could drop the gloves and do that too. So National Hockey League, a little different. You're talking about 750 of the best hockey players in the world, and at that point in time, they didn't need me. I have conversations with my coaches about it now. They didn't need me to step up and be a third line guy, right?
Right.
They didn't have anybody that was as tough as me. So if they were going to do that, then they were going to have to find somebody to replace me. And that's just the role you play. That's the way it is. That's what happens. And, it is what it is. Scoring goals was a good time, but I'll tell you what, and beat the crap out of somebody in the middle of the Scott Trade Center or the Savas Center is what it was called when I played. And it's 20,000 strong and you just lit a guy up. That crowd's louder than any goal that's scored.
Yeah, that might be true. Hey, so give us that moment when you knew you were going to play your first NHL game where it was done deal. You're like, I'm in.
My rookie season, 2000, 2001, made the team at a training camp, but was still living in a hotel. And we went on the road for the first 4 games of the season: Phoenix, Los Angeles, San Jose, and LA. And we came back home. We were 1-1-2, I think. And Joel Quenneville tapped me on the shin pads that morning, and they hadn't been playing any toughness. I was a healthy scratch the first 4 games, and so he tapped me on the shin pads and said, "You're in tonight." And it was against Minnesota Wild. And the nerves and everything else under the sun as you can possibly imagine. You're getting dressed. You can't even believe that it's going on. I'd played a couple exhibition games, but this was real life. I was getting ready to play my first National Hockey League game. It was a home opener. I was going to get to skate out with the lights out and that kind of thing. So it was pretty amazing. Funny story off of that one. Craig Conroy was the center iceman. I was playing with Craig Conroy and Tyson Nash. And it's a face-off in the offensive zone on the right-hand side. Matt Johnson and me are standing in front of the net, and obviously, we look right at each other. It's, first part of the season, everyone's trying to fight for their team and establish some presence. And we dropped the gloves right off the face-off. Sean Hill won the puck back Craig Conroy won the puck back to Sean Hill, and he already take a shot, and the whistle blew, and I went to the penalty box and felt like I got my job done and was excited as could be, and get back to the bench. And Connie looks over at me when I get there and sit beside him. He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm getting in a fight, my first shift. I got to get that stuff out of the way." He said, "No. Rule number 1, offensive zone face-off, and we win it, no fighting." I said, "Okay, Connie." So I couldn't fight anymore on an offensive zone face-off unless he lost the draw. So Turbo was a great guy and a great teammate. I only got to play with him for a few months as he got traded to the Calgary Flames halfway through that year. But he was well-loved in St. Louis.
Man, they were I forget what it was the year before, but man, with Coach Q, they were a lot of 40+ win seasons there. You got to play in.
Oh yeah,
so
they were good.
What was it like?
President's Trophy the year before I came.
Yeah. So
99, 2000, they won the President's Trophy, and then my rookie season, we lost to Colorado in the conference final. It's the last time the Blues were in the conference final until this year.
I think I remember that game. I might have been sitting up in the stands, and I think I remember Turgeon scoring on Joseph. Am I right? Does that sound about right? Would Joseph have been playing that, or am I way off?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think I remember that because Turgeon had such a great. Maybe did he play? I'm sure it was. No, I might be getting his name wrong. It's not Turgeon that scored. No, I can't think of the player's name. He had a great wrist shot. He eventually went to play for the Blues later on. Can't think of the name. So let's see. So you got what's that?
Turcotte.
Hey, before we got other people. This is kind of a roundtable discussion going on, Reed. So Nick, you want to introduce other people on the?
We got Jeff.
Say hi to Reed.
Yeah, we got Jeff from the SB Nation website for the Oilers, and we've got Mark from the Flames SB Nation website.
Hi, Reed.
Hey, Reed, how's it going?
Yeah, and real quick, if you guys get any questions at any time, go ahead and feel free to jump in. It's roundtable discussion. So.
Okay.
Reed mentioned he's got just a few minutes this evening. So, you got maybe another 10, Reed?
One more. You kind of breaking up. One more time.
All right, sorry. Do you have maybe another 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Well, then, some of those guys you play with, I was looking at the roster, and John Young, McKennis, Pronger, Have, Nat, like you said, Tyson Nash. So I'm guessing you got some Tyson Nash stories for us. Just a couple.
It's funny because Tyson came to our fantasy camp this year, and he's just a beauty of a guy, and he's one of my good buddies, good friend. And the ongoing joke was he stirred it up and I cleaned it up, and that was what he was out there to do. And he did a great job doing it. Aggravated the hell out of everybody out there, and and it's funny, you talk about guys and how you have to adapt your role. There's so many guys that are skilled high level guys at even a junior level score 50 goals in junior hockey, and they ended up not even being a top end player in a National Hockey League, let alone end up sometimes being a second, third, or fourth line guy in the minor leagues. And it's so hard to make it to the National Hockey League, and you've got to be able to adapt along the way. My adaptation came a little bit earlier when I was in junior, and I said, hey, listen, I'm going to need a little bit extra to get you that extra mile. Tyson Nash was a guy, I think he had 120 or 130 points in junior. I think he had 30 or 40 goals in the minors. Guys with a lot of points. And, he was a spicy little bugger, and, he stirred it up a little bit in the minor leagues, but he played too. And, the Blues, when the Blues signed him, they said, listen, your role in this team is to go out there and kill penalties and be an energy guy on the ice and get the other teams aggravated and draw penalties. And, Tyson did a hell of a job doing that. And again, it just comes down to show you the guys that are willing to do whatever it takes and, sacrifice the goal scoring or, being on a first line or whatever. You look at Tyson Nash. I played with him in Worcester, the Ice Cats too. He was a first liner, killed penalties, power play. He's one of our best players down there, and he comes to National Hockey League and he never really played on anything other than a fourth line. So, just another story of guys that, learn and adapt and adjust themselves at a junior pro level in order to set themselves up and give themselves an opportunity to be an NHLer. There's only 3 times 30. You're looking at about 90 players in the world that are going to play in the first line and be 30, 40 goal scorers. So
I'm always so impressed when I think about the commitment it takes for you guys to do what you did, to make it as far as you did, and all the hard work. The word professional definitely needs to be in front of anything you did in the NHL or played hockey, professional hockey. Work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and sometimes when you're in it, I look back on it and I'm like, yeah, it was hard work. But I loved it so much. It wasn't right. It wasn't. And it is for some people, and that separates the men from the boys when it comes to being a professional athlete and when it comes to making the National Hockey League. It wasn't hard work for me. I wanted to go to I would rather go skating on Friday night if there was open ice than to go to a party. I wasn't chasing girls to the extent that some guys were in junior. And I obviously upped my game a little bit when I got to the pros, but that's a whole different story we probably can't talk about. But anyways, it's when you look at what it takes when you're younger, it takes that sacrifice more than anything. But if you really love what you're doing, if you're really passionate about being there and making it, it's not a sacrifice at all because it's where you want to be.
That makes sense. You finished up with the Blues. You eventually make it over to the Hawks. What went on with the Hawks? I know you weren't there long, but what was your impression of the Blackhawks?
I probably shouldn't have signed a contract that summer. I was coming off a lockout where, again, hindsight's 2020. I really felt that if I would have went down and signed with one of the East Coast League teams, I would have probably earned myself a spot to get some ice time and play on a higher level instead of not playing at all. So probably one of the mistakes as I look back that I probably didn't take advantage of in 04-05 during that lockout. But, the next year we came back. I was a little out of shape coming into camp. Hadn't played in a year. Ended up breaking my jaw. Sent to the minors and played only 20 games coming out of the 05-06 season. And obviously that year I was done with the Blues and had played my last year with them, and I was an unrestricted free agent. And my agent really talked me into signing with the Blackhawks. they were really high on me, but I ended up having to sign a two-way deal. And, if I would have went to Blackhawks camp as a free agent, I ended up fighting Derek Bugard. We had a really good fight. And, that ended up making the team. I probably would have got a one-way contract after signing that fight, and if the Hawks wouldn't have given it to me, I think there probably would have been another team out there that would have jumped on it. So, that's the hindsight kind of thing you got to look at. I made the team out of camp. We all of a sudden, Martin Havlat, Michael Handzus, and trying to think of the Russian goal, and Nikolai Habibulin all got injured all at the same time. Team started losing, and the famous Bill Wirtz, rest in peace, but he was so cheap and so tight, and he didn't allow the games on TV, and there were so many things he didn't do right. He just started saying, cut salary, cut money, and my salary was just wanted to send down. I played 6 games, had 5 fights in 6 games, and was averaging 2.5 shifts a game. Like I told the coach, I said, I'm not really sure what else I could have done here. I got in 5 fights in 6 nights, and a healthy scratch and whatever else when you guys didn't think you needed me. I said, I really don't think I'm the guy that should get sent down. But at the end of the day, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And, I ended up spending the rest of the year in the minors in Norfolk, Virginia, with a bunch of guys that went on to win the cup for the Hawks. So, I had a hand in mentoring those guys and giving them some, giving them some of the advice they needed. And I went down there and had a good attitude, and ended up just kind of finishing off. But it was okay. The Blackhawks organization is one that's the original 6. It was really cool to to play in the United Center on that side of the coin. The crowds are lively there, and I'm a St. Louis Blue at heart, but I tell all the St. Louis Blues fans when we talk about that, beggars can't be choosy. Right? The Blues didn't want me, so I had to go find a job somewhere, and that's just where I landed.
I was going to ask that question. I was going to say Blackhawks sucks. Right answer. So I guess
Yeah.
so the Chelsea Dagger, was that people back then?
Who's that? Getting a lot of feedback off something.
Is that any better?
In the background, maybe one of our other guests.
There you
I'm
go.
Sure.
That's better.
Oh, sure. I was just wondering, Chelsea's Dagger, was that playing back then when you were on the ice with the Blackhawks?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't think that's.
No, doesn't ring a bell though.
Well, hey, you know what? Let's see. I wanted to ask you about the Winter Classic. Any chance you're going to be getting out there?
In the alumni game?
Yeah. Is there?
Or just to the Classic? I'm not sure. They haven't come out with a roster. Honestly, I'm sure Chaser's list, Name and Twister and Basil McRae, and for me, there's guys on that list that have played more games than me and probably had more of a presence in St. Louis that they'll ask to be a part of that game.
Sure.
I'm just proud to be a Blues alumni and obviously going to go attend it. And, they got Kid Rock coming into town. So, we're going to put on a pretty good party. The Blues alumni is, and, it's definitely something I'll be a part of. I work at the cat dealer in St. Louis, Favorite Cat. So, I will, they've got a box, so I'm going to be at the game for sure. And I'm going to be doing it my way, where it's warm and I don't have to stand in the freezing cold if it's cold. And if it's nice, well, they got sliding doors, so we'll be able to open it up too. So I'm happy with my seat. I just got to find 2 more so my 2 older boys can go, and we'll be good to go.
Hey, that sounds good. Well, I still think, well, hey, there's an outside chance. I hope I see you out there. I'm looking forward to the alumni game more than I am the regular game. So
yeah, you know what? I think that it's the following and the loyalty that the St. Louis Blues alumni have in St. Louis. I think you're going to see a lot of people there. That you get one ticket with the other, but I think you'll see a lot of fans turn out for that game because I know Hully's playing in it, Al's playing in it, Prongs is playing in it. I think both lineups are going to be a lot of fans or a lot of good fan favorite players that have been around and have stayed around the St. Louis area. So, hopefully everybody comes out and grows and, we're going to have a good time and, just happy finally the National Hockey League realized that, Busch Stadium was a place for this game. So.
No doubt. I was talking to Yaker and Soup, and it was, I mean, I wanted to hear from them that they really want to beat the Hawks, and it sounds like that's what's going to be game on when it's all said and done. When they get
Well,
out there, they're going to have some fun, but it sounds like they want to win.
Well, and I know the NHL, they want to pick guys that, are willing to, get on the ice and get into shape. And, they don't want a bunch of old slugs skating around out there. They want guys that are going to put the effort in, because, that Colorado Detroit game last year was what they want. They want that rivalry back. They want they want the game to get a little chippy at the end when it's close. And that's what makes the Winter Classic such a successful event. And it's not just the actual game with the Blues and the Blackhawks, and it's not even necessarily just about the alumni game. There's going to be a ton of stuff going on downtown. It's a great thing for downtown St. Louis to have 6 or 7 days of people coming in and filling up the hotels and filling up the restaurants. And there's a lot of things to be said about the Winter Classic and what it does for your city to be able to host it. So I think the Blues are looking forward to it. It's the 50th anniversary of the St. Louis Blues. They've already done a lot of stuff, a lot of planning so far. Even at the games we've already had, bringing the guys back from the original team. And so I think it's kind of a cool deal. And, St. Louis is a first-class city. They're going to do it right.
Are you playing at all at Hardy's Ice Flex? Do you ever get out there, play with the guys?
I don't. No, I don't. I'm too busy. And I live down south in Jefferson County. So it's, if I were to, it's a little bit too much of a haul of traffic time. And to be honest with you, I pulled my Desire muscle a long time ago. I like doing the charity games and getting out during fantasy camp, but I do get on the ice with my kids. I coach my kids. I coach high school hockey the last couple of years. So it's not like I'm never on the ice, but I'm good. I don't need to play hockey 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah. Well, like you said, those guys are getting in shape. I get to play with them sometimes. I get to play this Friday and playing goal, and it's a lot of fun getting out there with them. And some of those guys that, I saw Gary Unger at the fantasy camp last year. He doesn't play with the alumni here. He's in Canada, but I was impressed. But he said he still loves to get out there. He's like 70 something. He still loves to skate. It's pretty.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and he likes to be a part of it. And so, I like I said, I will always be a part of the fantasy camp as long as I can. And I carry a few extra pounds around than I need to probably, but I'm not as big as some of my buddies that played hockey for the Blues, so I'm still doing okay.
No doubt. Hey, one last thing, Reed. I want to thank you again for coming on Toast Batch Radio Show. Really appreciate it. And I need to ask you what you think about the Blues, and just if you want to give us just your opinion on the Blues so far the first 3 games.
It's tough to have any kind of negative comments about the way that they've played in the first 3 games, or what kind of hockey team that Doug Armstrong and Ken Hitchcock have set up. They're clicking on all cylinders. Everybody's playing really well. They're playing disciplined. They're sharing the lineup, making sure everybody gets in, and they're still winning. I think the biggest question is, for me, they lost a lot of physicality and a lot of toughness when Brouwer and Backus left. I don't think signing Backus would have been of value to the Blues, but I really thought they'd take a stronger run at Troy Brouwer. Jake's played good in net. You take a guy that's been injured quite a bit over his first 2 or 3 seasons, and he's played well. Hopefully we can keep him healthy, but I think they did a good job bringing in a good backup. Brian Elliott's going to get his chance in Calgary to be the number 1 guy for really the first time in his career. And so I think that the Blues look good right now. I'm waiting to see what happens when everybody starts to kind of that 10, 15, 20 games into the season where everyone starts to get comfortable and some of the teams start to pick up the physicality. We're fast. The Blues are a fast hockey team this year. So, the saying, you can't hit it if you can't catch it. Maybe that's going to be supposed to be true, but, we'll find out. That's really the only question they have. They got, again, every year the St. Louis Blues has one of the most balanced 4-line attacks that there is in the National Hockey League. This year's no different. When you take a look at Revo, Brodziak, and Upshaw, man, that could be a 3rd line on half the teams in the National Hockey League. So hopefully they give those guys some ice time. The more ice time they can give the fourth line early in the season, and even if they get it deeper into the playoffs, or they start to get towards the end of the season, the more ice time that line gets, the more preserved that the rest of the lineup's going to be. So that's the idea. That's why you have a deep team. That's why you have a deep lineup. And they've set the team up to do it this year. Prom looks really good playing with Laterra and Tarasenko. He's such a hard worker. I know that when people first seen that they signed him and they didn't sign Backers or Brouwer, they're like, really? We didn't get those two guys, and this is what we got? But I think we've all seen that David Perron's grown up from the little kid that he was when he first came to St. Louis, and he's a defensive player. He kills penalties. He works hard. His backside pressure on the back check is second to none. And you take a look at the team, like we don't even have Schwartz in the lineup right now. So I think that when you take a look at the Blues, they're in good position. Again, the only thing I would really question is, what's going to happen when toughness becomes a factor? Do the Blues have enough to step up? I guess we'll see.
Yeah, well, you're right, man. And looking forward to seeing it too. It's going to be a great season, I think. Well, thanks.
Yeah, I'm excited and celebrate 50 years, and it's a pleasure and a privilege and an honor to be able to have worn the blue note. And there's a lot of history that comes through this city in 50 years, and we've got a lot of guys that live in town, and we've got a lot of guys that live around the country that are going to make their way to St. Louis and Canada to be a part of this year. So it's going to be a special one. I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
You are still part of such a great organization. Hey, our two other guests, Jeff and Mark, you've been pretty patient. Did you want to throw out one quick question or something?
I just think it's great that you guys were able to get Reed to come on the show and talk a little bit. And Reed, he's a really down to earth guy. He spent 3 great seasons with the St. Louis Blues doing his thing. So like I say, it was a pleasure hearing from him.
Yeah, I just enjoyed sitting back, kind of listening to him tell stories. I didn't really have anything to ask or add. It was just, it was kind of neat to hear him speak. So that was cool. Thanks.
Hey, anything else, Reed?
Good stuff, guys. Well, I'm going to head out. I'm up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, doing some work up here. So I'm getting ready to head out for lunch or for dinner. And you guys enjoy the rest of your show. And I'll maybe in a month or so I'll come back on and we can chinwag again.
Hey, sounds great, Reed. Thanks so much, man.
All right, guys. See you later.
Thanks, Reed. All right, everybody. That was Reed Lowe, former Blues player and Blues alumni. So we'd like to thank him again for coming on.
Nick, we just got a call.
We've got another one.
It's nature.
Okay. Yeah, nature's calling, so we're going to excuse Nick for a second while he does his thing. Jeff, let's bring it, or Mark, I'm sorry. Let's bring it back home for you. We see you've been decked out here with your Cubs gear all night. We know you've got your big game coming up, so let's switch topics a little bit here. And how do you think the Cubs are doing against the Dodgers this series? It's tied 1-1 now as of the recording of this podcast.
Yeah, I think they've been playing fine. I mean, the offense has been lagging all playoffs. I mean, Rizzo's having a really hard time getting the ball in play. But Jason Hayward, he's getting the pine tonight. They're going to let Jorge Soler hit in his spot in the 6th hole because Hayward's just basically almost through the entire season, he's just been a rally killer. He hasn't really done much for the Cubs. Pitching staff-wise, I mean, I think any team would be pretty happy going into Game 3 with Jake Arrieta being their number 3 pitcher, the 3 slot when it comes time for the playoffs. So I think Hendricks pitched a great game the other night. He just made the one mistake to Adrian Gonzalez, and he paid for it, and it was 1-0. I mean, you can't really complain about getting beat by Clayton Kershaw. If you're going to lose to somebody in the playoffs, you can't really complain about losing to him. He's an ace. He's dominant. He's one of the best pitchers of all time. So I think 1-1 is fine. I would like to see them win tonight and take a little bit of the pressure off of having to really, really ramp it up in LA. But if they can walk away, if they can come out of this game up 2-1, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, Kershaw, he's pretty much the closest thing to a sure bet in the major leagues nowadays. Dodgers 4-0 in games that he's pitched in, and they're 0-3 in games that he hasn't this postseason. So it's pretty stark contrast when they've got him up there when they don't. And obviously they're going to get him up there as many times as possible. But it's
they had a crazy stat the other night in the game too. It's like after the 7th inning, his ERA balloons to something astronomical. It's not even close. It's ridiculous how high his ERA gets after the 7th inning, but they still couldn't touch him after that. So, hey, props to him. He pitched a great game, and, what are you going to do? It's Clayton Kershaw.
Right, exactly.
Were you sharing some Clayton Kershaw memories with Dodger Cardinal games? Is that what you were doing, Nick?
Yeah, we were running over Cubs and Dodgers. I think my favorite Kershaw memory, though, has got to be the game we were at in 2014, I want to say. It was Cardinals-Dodgers NLCS Game 4. Cardinals could clinch it with a win. Kershaw had been carving up the Cardinals for about 6 straight innings. Just weren't touching him at all. And we finally get 2 guys on, and Matt Adams comes to bat. Kershaw's got like an ERA of under 100 against lefties that year. Or I'm sorry, a batting average of under 100 against lefties that year. And Adams takes a curveball and pulls it over to right field, puts up a 3-run home run. Cards are up 3-2 that game then. And end up clinching the series with the game-winning home run for Matt Adams versus Kershaw. Nobody saw it coming because Adams was horrible against lefties. Kershaw was incredibly good against left-handed batters, and he had given up a home run off his curveball to a left-handed batter, which is what coincidentally the pitch was when Adams hit a home run.
And I know we can't talk baseball too long here, but on throwing what he did from the right field bleachers when Kershaw was warming up, what did I know?
I think he yelled at him that he can't pitch from the stretch, and of course when he had to pitch from the stretch, and that's when he gave up the home run.
And we kept telling this when he was gonna, the 7th inning was going down. And I yelled like 10 different times.
We felt happy because
up and smiled at me, but never happened.
My favorite part of the moment though was when they switched spots. He was warming up, throwing to AJ Ellis, the catcher, and they ended up switching and moving over to the other side of the field to do warm-ups because it was bugging him too much.
Nice.
I did my job. I thought we got to that. That's a little bit of a tip to the Cubs.
All right, so let's jump back into hockey here. Jeff, how do you see the Oilers doing this year? It's just 3 games in. It's not a lot to base it off of, but what you've seen so far, what would you predict is going to be your guys' finish coming down the stretch?
I think a fair amount of points to ask for is about 85. Well off the mark for playoffs, but the defense is where all the questions lie. They've got a really good first pair with Sakura and Adam Larson. I'm happy with that. After that, it's a big question mark. So I really don't know what to expect. Clefbaum and Larson, excuse me, not Sakura. Sakura's an excellent second pair guy. He's been paired up with Chris Russell of all people. And if you've watched any of Russell, you're getting a grab bag there. So, and the third line I don't want to talk about because it still owes me alimony. But I think 85 is a fair number if they all stay healthy. If McDavid wants to put the team on his back and score 100 points, I'm okay with that too. But I think 85 would show some improvement. Anything over that, I think we'd all be surprised.
Yeah, I could agree with that one. I'd say 85, and then I think next year you guys maybe make a splash in free agency and sign a good defenseman, shore up that second line of defense, and you guys could be knocking on the door of the playoffs the following year.
That's very nice of you to think.
So Jeff, you live in Edmonton?
No, I live in Buffalo.
Oh, that's right. I think I've asked you that question before.
It happens.
I asked you about Connor, McDavid mania. I was wondering what it was like in that city, but I guess you wouldn't know then.
Oh, it was amazing because there was an active tank for the city of Buffalo. Like they were all in. I don't know if you guys remember a couple of years ago, but Buffalo sold anything of value, signed veterans to humongous contracts. They got Brian Giunta here on a 3-year deal, and it was just. I mean, they hired Ted Nolan. The tank was in, all right, and they knew that even if they finished last, which they did, that they'd have a pick at first or second. Well, they kind of got it in their head that it was going to be first or bust. So, we were all out. I'll link you guys to like some actual stuff. It's really funny because it looks like you just pulled the wind right out of all their balloons in 1 second when Edmonton's golden card came up. So it's there's that one dude, me in the back going, wow! And everybody else is like, I'm gonna kill you. So, but they got Eichel. He's a fine guy too. So.
And how many more lotteries is Edmonton going to win? I've got to wonder if they've got like maybe Bettman's daughter hostage or something, and they're like, give us all the lotteries. It's like
in my lifetime, they're due to win 14 more lotteries, and yours something close to 27.
Okay. So you guys are going to have a lineup of all overall first draft picks. Just the whole
right. If things don't go right in 4 or 5 years, McDavid's leadership will be called out, Does he really want to be here? Blah, blah, blah. Does he want to really put the team on his back? We're showing him too much piety, and he'll get traded to St. Louis for a third-round pick with an option for a second if he scores 15 goals a year. So
I am A-okay with that one. Now, I got to ask, is that a McDavid jersey that you're wearing?
it is.
Okay, yeah, so the McHype is real.
Oh, yeah. It's the only thing that's carrying this club right now, because without McDavid,
It's just nothing. It's just nothing without him.
I mean, there's some good pieces. You've always got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Jordan Eberle, but they shipped Taylor Hall out, and all the groceries just got spent that week. It just wasn't cool.
Mm-hmm. So, Mark,
You're not making me feel any better by giving up those 12 goals in 2 games, to Edmonton right now with this conversation. It's not making me feel too optimistic about the Flames.
I got you, man. But the Oilers gave up 13 and 3 right now, and the table with Cam Talbot is just like, he's got stuff going on in his life. I get that, but right now everybody's like, oh well, he's got a 4.33 goals against average, and people are freaking out. It's like just plug in for a second.
I understand where you're coming from. I have a friend from college who's an Oilers fan, and legitimately, this is the same conversation we have every year. So it's not like I get it. So, but it's just
This happened with Dubnyk a few years ago, and people are going to do the same thing. There's Talbot in, he's head in the game. It's just media talking points. I get it, but it's so damn old after a while.
You get the media in the big markets, and they start jumping on players. It happened with Phil Kessel in Toronto. And, of course, we all know how that story ended. This is one of my favorite feel-good stories for the NHL because you get the media craps on Kessel for years. Oh, he doesn't play good. He doesn't play hard. He's a slow skater. He floats around. And he's playing his butt off there in Toronto trying to play good on a horrible team. Eventually, they start getting on him because he likes hot dogs, and that becomes a thing. And they make fun of him because he ate a hot dog. And then he, of course, goes to Pittsburgh and wins the Stanley Cup and gets to rub it all in their faces and take the cup to Toronto. So that's one of my favorite.
Trust me, it was no better than when he was here in Boston, and the same with Tyler Seguin. So it's as bad as ever. The bigger the market, the bigger the problems. But it's those two here when they were in Boston was an absolute nightmare.
He took a full page ad out of the I believe it was the Toronto Sun, to thank everybody. And I'm sure you guys all saw the Steve Simmons column where Simmons just kicked him on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
The guy at Bloor in Eglinton lost his best hot dog customer. Oh my God! And it was just and then that year he came out and won the cup. So good for him. Good for him.
Yeah. We got some good stuff going on here, but I was just thinking on our last podcast, we were a little remiss in remarking on the upcoming games. We ended up having the whole podcast. I'm like, oh, we didn't even talk about the upcoming game. So I'm gonna jump way ahead, and then we'll digress. But I'm gonna jump way up to.
I need to wrap this up.
Saturday night we're playing Calgary in Calgary, the Saddle Dome.
Mm-hmm.
Still play the Saddle Dome, right? And so Elliott's gonna be in net, right? I hope.
I would assume so. Yeah. As you mentioned before, I don't think this is a 1A, 1B scenario. I think it's give Elliott a breather after the 2 games in Edmonton. Johnson played well. It makes sense to have Johnson play against Buffalo, give him a chance to try to beat them. And then I think Elliott will start to get back in. I mean, it's not going to be a 1A and 1B. Elliott was brought in here. The draft day trade was made so that he would be the starter. Chad Johnson's brought in as insurance. He played well in Buffalo. He played well when he was with the Bruins. So I think Elliott is the man to go this season unless things go incredibly squirrely and sideways. But I don't see it as a 1A, 1B. Seeing last year it was a 1A, 1B, 1C, and none of them were really a 1. So I think Calgary wants one goalie, and I think Brian Elliott is that guy to carry the team this season. I hope.
If you look at his past history, you don't want to get inside of his head as a coach, your team, and make him have doubts as to his, am I number one? When he had to fight that, he was hands down the best goalie with the Blues when Halak was here. When Halak played, he was always pushed forward. He was number one when Allen was being brought up. He was really the best player, Elliott was, but Allen, again, was being pushed forward ahead of Elliott. Elliott got his, obviously at the end, he got the last say when he had that beautiful playoff run last year with the Blues. Yeah. So hopefully he's going to, because you guys if you give him 8 out of the next 10 games and he'll settle in, gosh, I'm guessing, we never think about this, but look, he's in a new city, right?
Yeah.
Things new to him. He's getting settled in still probably, and this team, and he just needs 10 games under his belt, and you're really gonna love him.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's exactly the way I feel. I mean, he has to open up in Edmonton the night they open up their brand new arena. So that's extra hype. Then they come home for their home opener, and then they get Edmonton again, and it gets ugly real quickly. I think it's one of those things. Once he settles in, I'm not gonna judge Brian Elliott on 2 starts. That's just stupid. There's no need to do that. I think he'll settle in time, and everything will be fine.
Mark, I thought the first 2 games were just great.
I'm sure you did.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Calgary and Edmonton, that's a pretty big rivalry there, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yes,
A little bit. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit.
a fair bit. The Battle of Alberta, they say.
Yeah.
It is, right? It's your number one rivalry. It's not Vancouver, obviously, right?
No,
Nobody likes Vancouver.
No.
But it's definitely Edmonton.
Off on the round, sadly, to the side. It's like nobody likes us, nobody hates us.
Nobody likes Edmonton. Or, no, nobody likes Vancouver either. But no, nobody likes Vancouver.
That's the one thing. That's the one thing Jeff and I will agree on in this conversation. That yes, in Vancouver, it's the pits. Nobody cares.
I could just Google it, but help me out with my geography. I understand the Battle of Alberta, and I can picture that. But give me Calgary and Edmonton. Edmonton's farther north than Calgary.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's 3.5 hours north.
Correct. Calgary is further south towards the United States border.
All right.
So.
All right, I know where I'm at now.
Yeah, there you go. It's roughly 2,500 miles from my house. So yeah,
There you go.
Now I know you don't represent Edmonton, Jeff. I mean, you do, but you don't. You're from Buffalo, but so maybe.
I am.
But so what should we know about Calgary, the city? So you think of St. Louis, you think of the Arch, Gateway to the West. And,
You want to know about Edmonton or Calgary? Because I'm probably bad on Calgary.
Okay, well, give me either one from either one.
I'll give you Edmonton as best as I can. It's a big. Of course, one of their major industries is oil. It's a very blue collar city. From what I gather, there recently, I don't know if you heard, there was a big, the Oilers laid a deuce against the Sabres over the weekend. So what they did was they decided to have a players a day off.
What we heard.
They made it a practice. Okay, so right now there's a little hubbub in the NHLPA right now as to whether or not that was going to be something. But everybody, the fans, of course, cried, "Oh, come on now! I work 14 hours a day out in the middle of nowhere, and I drive to Fort Saskatchewan every day, and it's so it's a very blue collar city, and nobody could see what was going on. Their big foods are Donairs. I know all about Donairs. It's like a Euro wrap, but it's wrapped up in a nice. It's wrapped up in a pita. That's a big thing there. Let's see. I know a lot about Edmonton. I just don't want to get into the minutiae. But fun people, and we talk.
Give us the coach's punchline on that. I thought it was a great one. When they were supposed to have the day off, right, according to the Players Association contract. But what was the coach? So why they didn't get the day off? What did he say?
From what the story is, he walked in and said, "Hey, can we practice tomorrow?" And McDavid, of course, we can practice tomorrow. That's the way that I took it, and I guess all the alternates got together and said, "Okay, we can do this." And what McClellan said was something about how nobody else is in the room, they don't understand. Perhaps our friends from Toronto can hash it out, or something of that nature. And I thought, you're calling on a journalist, you're calling on Mark Spector from Toronto to hash out an issue. I don't know how that's going to work, but unless you saw a clip or a quip that I missed.
Well, it might have been a bogus tweet or something, but
it could have been misinformation. But the one that I heard was he says Edmonton took a day off yesterday, so they're gonna have a day on tomorrow.
It's a little
bit better than that, but it's something like that. It's like they took the day off yesterday anyway, so they don't get a day off today on their CBA mandated day off.
He took Sunday. I guess they played Sunday, right, or Saturday.
They played Sunday.
Yeah, so they play Sunday. He's like, well, look, you took Sunday off, so you're not getting Monday.
Mm-hmm.
The 6-2 drumming.
So, Mark, we know you got your game coming up. We'll wrap this up for you. But one last question.
No worries.
Yeah, same question as that we had for Jeff. How do you think the Flames are going to do this year?
Well, we did a roundtable, and maybe I was aiming a little high. I figured anywhere between 90 and 94 points for the Flames, and I based a lot of that on goaltending. I figured Elliott coming in could steal them 10 games that they may have lost last year where they didn't play well. Same with Chad Johnson. So, I mean, I think Calgary, I said, yes, they will make the playoffs. I don't know how far they would go, but I think it all depends on how Elliott does and how the defense plays in front of him. I'm not worried about Monahan and Gaudreau. They'll click. The Michael line for a while when that was together was doing well, and now it's just Backlund and Ferland, and they're playing well together, scoring points. So I think if Elliott can get back on track, and if they can steal 10 games that they would have lost last year between Hiller and Ramo and Ortio and net, I think Calgary has a outside shot at making the playoffs. Yeah, that's what I think.
Mm-hmm. And Mark's,
and that's not some homerism thing. I just think, like, logically, if they can pull 10 games out last year that they wouldn't have got due to better goaltending, that helps them get closer.
I can agree with that. And Jeff's gonna hate me for this, but I do kind of like the Flames. They're kind of my second team a little bit, just because you guys have got so many ex-Blues in the team. You got Russell, you got Elliott, you got Brouwer now, and it's fun to watch guys like Goodrow and Monahan and Sam Bennett, and see those guys tearing it up.
They're a fun team to watch. They when they start scoring, they can fly. I mean, Bennett's one of those guys that skates real well. He can score, but he's also not afraid to use his body. Goodrow is Goodrow. Monahan's the same. I've really enjoyed Troy Brouwer so far being up here. He actually got his second goal of the season the other night when Louis Eriksson went to clear the puck back on a delayed penalty when Ryan Miller was at the bench and actually put it in his own net. So Brouwer got his second of the season thanks to Louis Eriksson and the Vancouver Canucks. They totally Canucked and gave the Flames a goal. So he's in
didn't know that Brouwer got it though.
Yeah, I think they were going to give it to Brett Kulak, give him his first NHL goal, and I think when they all was said and done, I believe it ended up going to Brouwer, which I thought was funny. But yeah, so Calgary gets to overtime in a shootout, then Vancouver giving them their only goal of the game.
How's Matthew Tkachuk doing for you? Because the Blues fans are definitely going to keep tabs on him. Son of Keith Tkachuk, longtime Blue, and he's now with the Flames.
One, thrilled that he actually fell to them at the 6th spot in the draft. I thought that was, again, the Vancouvering in front of the Flames, let him go, and Calgary was able to get him at 6, which was great. He's got his 9-game tryout with them coming up. They're 3 games into it. I don't see him. They'd have to send him back to the minors. The juniors. I'm sorry, I apologize. And I don't see what he would get out of going back to juniors as opposed to staying up the season with Calgary. I mean, he's getting it out there. He's mixing it up. He's getting in people's faces. He's got some shots. He's hustling out there. So I think Matthew Tkachuk has a really, really good shot to stay with the Flames for the entire season and make an impact. I don't expect him to put in 50 points, but if he got a solid 25-30 and just played well all season, mixed it up, instigated a couple guys, I think that's what he's there for. And he's impressed the Flames staff so far, and I think he's going to make it tough for them at the end of the 9 games, or I think they're going to have to keep him up here because he will learn more at the NHL level than he will be going back to the juniors.
I hate him already. I hate him already. I'm not being cute. I'm serious. All right, he's dirty. Like he plays the game that he wants to be there after October for Calgary, and he got in with my man Brandon Davidson the other night, and Davidson's probably at very worst, the 4th best defenseman we have on the team right now, and Davidson's got issues right now, and I don't know if you saw it, but if you watch it, he rubs his face in the ice. It's some dirty stuff. So he's he's going to be. I'll even go so far. He'll be there the entire season.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I said, I don't think going back to juniors helps him at all. He can score. He can get 100 points in juniors like that. So what's the point? He's better off learning at the NHL level. And I think some of his over aggressive stuff can probably be coached out of him a little bit. I don't think you want to take all of that out of him, but at the same time, he needs to know when and where, and he can't be in the box when they need him on the ice.
If I'm the Flames, I'm loving what I see from him. That's all, So, I mean, I'm not, so I hate it. But.
Especially on a team that isn't in a win-now mode, and they're coming to the end of their rebuild, they can afford to have him on the roster, I think, and let him learn at the NHL.
Exactly.
I hate him.
Thanks, looking at me. I had something, but I have. I'm gonna throw out real quick. What's the buzz on the Blues? What do you guys feel on the Blues as you're outside looking in? Speak of the Western Conference Finals again. What do you see?
Well, they're a top team, I think. And I enjoy it because now all of our former top picks are now playing for you guys. So, it's kind of a fun little way to peek in there. I always try to keep tabs on former Oilers whenever they get to break out of the system. And now there's with Yakupov getting over there, like he's just I'm an ardent Yakupov supporter. Like, he's one of my favorites, even though he had warts into his game. I just never thought he got the right. I just don't think he was eased into the system as good as Hitchcock is going to treat him. And Hitchcock knows he comes over damaged goods, So I look at you guys. I mean, you guys are going to be a top team. I mean, how far you get into the playoffs is, from what I see it, is how good your goaltending is. So, I mean, your defense, I think is in bend but don't break mode, and you've got the power to score 250 goals a year. So, let's see what happens.
Yeah, no, I agree with Jeff. I think you guys are definitely one of the top teams. I mean, you guys. I look at the nightmare Calgary's had going to your building. I mean, 0-7. That's the streak. It's 7 games they haven't been able to get a win in St. Louis, and we've split with you guys in Calgary 4 out of the last 5 years. I mean, you're a heck of a hockey team. So I agree. I would expect you guys to be going deep into the playoffs.
I guess I think our hopes at our end are the same way. We're feeling like we should do pretty well, but I'm really interested in seeing what the Blues are going to do with. There's a lot of talk about the team having more speed. Does on speed more so than it was last year. And this one big game lost Backus, Brouwer. Who else we lose, Nick?
Backus, Brouwer, Elliott. We lost Steve Ott as well to Detroit.
So I'm curious if Hitchcock is going to let the team fly, or if he's going to reel them in as soon as the injuries start happening. Because the injuries are going to happen. We're not going to have the full lineup. There's always going to be 1 or 2 good guys out. It seems like it happens every year now. And I'm afraid he's going to reel the team back in and take a smaller team that's fast and try to make them a defensive team again. And I'm concerned about that. And it raised my eyebrow a little bit on Saturday. We play the Rangers. And in the third period, for only the third time in the history of the Blues, they were shut out on no shots on goal in the third period. And we had 3 injuries in the second period, I guess. Was it, Nick? 3 guys went down?
Yeah, 3 guys. It was Gunnarsson, Brodziak, and Laterra. Laterra's out for a little bit longer. He's not on the road trip. But Gunnarsson and Brodziak are both with the team still.
And it was just 1 period. But, man, I was concerned that I wasn't really concerned. It raised an eyebrow because I just thought, damn, here we are. A couple injuries. The team just pulled back. All of a sudden they weren't flying around the ice. And I think that's what I'm looking at the first 10 games. I want to see what the Blues will do if they'll stick to a system, even if a couple of guys get hurt and they still play more of an offensive game. I'd like to see that style anyway. I don't know if we're going to win with it, but that's what I want to see. We're disconnected.
That about wraps it up for this show. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
No, just thanks for having me again. I had a great time last year. This was a fun time. I appreciate you inviting us back.
Yeah, if you ever want to feel good about the Blues, just invite me on and I'll talk about the Oilers because, everybody needs a good pep talk, and if you ever have any questions, Zach Cashin is our second line right winger tonight. So,
Well, hey,
I'm excited. No Weidman tonight. Woo! 2 games in a row.
He who shall not be named is not in the lineup.
That's right. Exactly.
Thursday night, we're playing the Oilers. And
Thursday night's the Oilers.
What's the prediction? What do you guys think? What do you got, Jeff?
We'll start with you, Jeff.
McDavid, ? St. Louis, 5.
There it is. I'm gonna have to go with 4-2 Blues, but McDavid nets both the Oilers goals on highlight reel plays that ESPN and Sportsnet won't shut up about.
Schwartz is coming back that day.
This seems fair.
Schwartz is back for Thursday.
Yes.
Okay,
Schwartz
so
should be back for Thursday.
I was going to go 2-1, but I'm going to go 3-2 Blues in overtime. Connor McDavid stopped by Allen for the third shot.
You're going to get us to overtime. That's very kind of you.
And we went 3-2. All right. And then how about coming up on Saturday night against Calgary? What are you thinking, Jeff?
I think Saturday you're in Calgary, so that gives Calgary a fighting chance. Elliott will probably get the start in that game, so he's pumped up. I'll go Calgary 3-2 in that game. Tuesday, when we go to St. Louis, that's a complete other horrid nightmare story. I would not be surprised if that one went sideways real fast because Calgary does not play well in your building. So I say 3-2 in Calgary, they get the win, and then in St. Louis, the Flames 5-2. You guys beat them in St. Louis. We'll call it a split.
agree with that. I'd have to say that Elliott always comes out for big games. He's going to want to beat his old team, and I could see that probably being the Blues' first loss of the year is against Elliott in Calgary.
And I'm happy to say that I'm looking forward to the 4-0 shutout by Elliott. He gets his first shutout with the Flame, and the Blues get a wake-up call.
All right.
Fair enough.
Yeah, okay.
What about us here on Toast Dispatch Radio? We'd like to thank everybody again for coming on. You can follow Mark Parkinson on Twitter at mpark14news, and you can follow Jeff Chapman on Twitter as well at New Wave Oil. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Thanks for having us. Cheers.
You guys, Nick, for God's sake.
I'm playing the outro music right now.
He's got all these sound effects. He didn't play them all.
We've got a lot of sound effects to say. We've definitely been building up a library, but we didn't play enough of them tonight. We got boxing bells, stuff like that.
The boxing bell was the reason why we forgot about that. Maybe we can edit that in.
Your ideas are intriguing.
Oh.
I wish this
Okay, quick question.
Yeah.
So St. Louis scores a goal, right? And then there's the gong, and I hear the crowd going 1, 2, 3, 4. What the hell's that?
You're talking about Towel Guy right there. So that's been a tradition. Ron Belch, however he says his last name.
It's Belker.
Belker. I say Belch. Just annoy him. Anyway, so Ron Belch comes on. He goes up there and he waves the towel up in section 315. Gets the crowd going, and then he pumps his fist. Each time he pumps his fist, it's one for each goal. So if they score 5 goals, they go 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5. Then he throws a towel out into the stands for someone to catch it.
Okay, all right. So he's just a fan that does that thing.
It's one of those fan traditions. Like
Plus years.
I think Rangers have got Dancing Larry or some fat guy that goes around dancing. I forget which team that is.
Got. All right. Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, since I've been probably like I'm 35, so since I was probably like, I don't know, probably 15. It's been at least 20 years back when you guys had the Kiel Center or whatever it was called. Like he did it then, so I've always noticed it, and I didn't know any Blues people to ask. So there you go. I just thought it was some dude on a bell, and I'm like, how cute.
Yeah, they need to give him more camera time. They never show him on video feeds, but if you're at the stadium, you can see him up there. I think they had him one year during the lockout. He held up a sign, kind of saying "screw you" to the owners and "screw you" to the team for locking out the fans. And since then, they didn't give him as much press attention.
Well, there you go.
Here goes on. But he the fixture. 25.
We had him on the show last year. Yeah,
Well, I thought about him, so that's good. Do you guys have an organist, or is that all pre-recorded?
that's
Yeah,
organist as well. It's
Jeremy Boyer.
Jeremy Boyer. He's a real cool guy.
Yeah, he's a really good organist, and I don't know if you guys follow the organ guy on Twitter, but I believe he's at NHL Organist. He's got all the Twitter accounts of all the organ guys, and I hear things and I pay attention, and I think what's really lost on the owners is the fan experience. And you can give away a whole bunch of crap if you want to your fans, but the actual in-game experience with the organ and with promotions and things, and not having advertisements blink in your face every 5 seconds, I think it's an overlooked thing. So,
No, I
but
agree with you
anyways,
entirely.
yeah.
You can't. You can come up with a marketing scheme in about a week with some 20-somethings, with the marketing ideas. But when you have tradition, it's hard to replace that.
And it, to make $1, it's like, I don't know if you guys remember 10 years ago when the Sabres went from that, their tradition. Well, they had the goat head logo at the time, and they went to that thing, the jumping buffalo logo. And it was just, like, seriously, it was an ends-on disaster. It was like New York Islanders fisherman disaster level. So
You're gonna hate me for this, but I like both of those jerseys: the Buffalo Slug and the Islander, the Fisherman.
the Islander fisherman is kind of like, oh God, this really was the 90s, wasn't it? And just
It was the epitome of that, and I liked the logo. But the colors were awful. That was bad.
somebody green-lighted that. There's a great picture floating on the internet of Darius Kasparaitis and Travis Green looking at each other like, wow, okay, this looks great.
I'll send you a tweet of what the Blues almost wore as a third jersey. It's infamous among Blues fans.
The cool cat thing, yeah, I seen that, yeah.
Exactly, yes, the Cool Cat jersey. So
Yeah,
pray to God it doesn't get worn again.
Hey, Nick, you
there's a,
got Jeff on our list now, right?
Oh yeah, he's on there.
Is he in there now?
it's difficult to miss me.
Yeah. Hey, before I forget too, definitely whenever we're playing the Oilers, we'll be giving you a call.
Oh yeah, sure, no problem.
And I wanted to ask too if sometimes if we're short on anybody, you want to come on and talk some hockey. You like doing that?
Sure, yeah. Just get at me, and if I'm free, and I have no problem.
Okay. We'll keep you in
Okay.
mind. And I don't want to.
All right.
If you guys are talking, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I think that about
Oh.
wraps it up. A lot,
Yeah,
Jeff.
that's about it. But yeah, thanks for having me.
All right.
We'll do it again
Okay.
soon.
All right, see you.
Cheers.